Hi there, my name is Ankur and I'm the founder and CEO of Impira. And today I'm going to show you a demo of how to use Impira to automatically process an insurance application. So we'll start by just attaching these files to this email. And instead of sending it to a human, we're actually going to send it to Impira, which will process the documents automatically. So if we look at the attachments to the document, if you're in the insurance industry, these probably look really familiar to you. This is an ACORD 125 form, which contains the details of an insurance application. And this is a loss run report, which contains a detailed history of claims against a business that an underwriter can use while underwriting a policy. So when we meet most of our customers, they're actually keying in this information by hand into things like spreadsheets, CRMs, policy management systems, and so on. And what Impira does is it automatically extracts this data out of these documents, so you don't have to, spend that time keying them into the system. So if we go back here, I have Impira hooked up to Snowflake, which is a really popular data warehouse. And it's one of the most popular ways that people analyze the data in Impira. You can also connect Impira to a wide variety of other things like Salesforce, policy management systems, G Suite, Slack, and even homegrown systems. But this will just make it easy for us to explore the data. So as you can see, this is a list of the submissions themselves with all of the policy information, about the application pulled out, as well as the full claim history. This is just a list of claims with all of their details. And then we even have a couple bar charts down here that show loss volume broken out by time. So this shows Q2 and Q3 of last year were particularly significant, and this breaks it down by state. It looks like Maine had the highest volume. So if I go up here and refresh the dashboard, we'll see our new application has been processed, and it has all this stuff in here. The claims are here as well, and then the graphs have been updated. It looks like, wow, something must have been going on in Kentucky in that loss run report. So if we go to the Impira application, you'll see the documents sent in through email are here. And when you send an email to Impira, it automatically splits apart the attachments, figures out what kinds of documents they are, and then sends them into their respective collections for processing. So if we look at, let's start with the ACORD form, you'll see Impira has pulled out all of this information. And if we look at the loss run report, you'll see the same. And so you can see it's picked it out as structured data that you can use. And last but not least, we have all this information pulled together into a view, which basically grabs the original email submission along with the ACORD information and the loss history. And this view is what's connected into Snowflake. So every time a new submission arrives and it gets processed, it shows up in this view and then reflected automatically in Snowflake. This process is called straight-through processing, which means, from soup to nuts, a document or a set of documents gets fully processed and then written into a downstream system. Our customers see on an average straight-through processing rate of around 96%. And Impira makes it really easy for you to go in whenever there's something that needs some review and actually take a look at it. And we'll even automatically alert you when that's the case. So if we look at this document, it says it could use some help on this phone number. Great, so we can help it. This is a pretty funky looking phone number, so we'll fix that one. And this one says it could use some help on this email, but it actually got it correct. So we can just confirm it, and the model is going to learn and update in real time. And so, if you're anything like me, you're looking at this and this fancy dashboard and thinking, wow, this looks great, but it's probably a lot of work to set up. Don't you have to upload hundreds of documents and label like 50 of them to get the model training and then keep doing that? And, wow, that's so much work. Well, what makes Impira really special is actually how easy it is to set up. And so now we're actually going to set up these documents from scratch in just a few minutes. So we'll start with the ACORD forms. ACORDs are a really standard document type, and so we don't want you to have to reinvent the wheel. We have a gallery of templates for common document types, and you can just click the correct format, hit confirm, and Impira will pull in a bunch of pre-trained fields and automatically label the documents for you. Awesome. So if we look at this, it's looking pretty cool. And of course, you can continue providing feedback and edit the field names or combine them together and do whatever you want to continue working with these documents. Now let's look at the lost run reports. So if you notice, this lost run is from Acme Insurance, which is a fictional insurance company. And this is kind of on purpose. In just about every industry that we work with, there are some really common formats for documents, and then there's this very long tail of non-standard documents or niche documents that can be really painful to work with. What's great about Impira is it's actually really easy to onboard a new document type and set it up completely from scratch. So let's do that for this lost run. So I'll create a table called claims. And then specify the first row. And then all I need to do is provide one example for each of these fields. Now, if you haven't noticed already, even though this is a table, it's not a simple grid. And what makes Impira special is that it's able to take these very complex tables that have almost a three-dimensional structure to them and learn about how to extract the data out of them very accurately. It doesn't have to be formatted anything like a grid for Impira to work with it, but in return, the data that you get from Impira is incredibly structured and easy to use. So that's it. After labeling just this one row, the model is going to train and predict values for the rest of the document. Awesome. So it looks like it got this row correct, but it was struggling a little bit with this row, and it knows that. It's happy to tell us that loss description is where it could use some help. So let's go in here and actually fix the loss description value, and then confirm the row. And again, Impira is going to incorporate this feedback and then train the model and reevaluate it for this document. Awesome. And so with just two labels, Impira was able to figure out how to extract this table very accurately. If we look at the other document, it looks pretty good as well. We can open it up and take a look. Looks like it could use a little bit of a confidence boost here, but it did get the value correct. And so you can feel free to continue providing more labels to the document, and after probably 2 or 3 more, you should see green across the board. So last but not least, what's really great about Impira is that you can just go to our website and sign up and take it for a spin yourself. Upload your documents, try out some templates, train it yourself, whatever makes sense for your use case. And you can do that for free, without talking to us, or if you'd like some help, we're happy to help you test out the product yourself. We have customers in all kinds of different industries, including insurance, healthcare, manufacturing, logistics, and many others, and we'd be thrilled to help you and explore your use case. Thanks so much, and hope to hear from you all soon.